When I was 19 years old, my 16-year-old brother was murdered, shot in the head in the streets of Houston, Texas. What that did to our family haunts me to this day. Cousins confused, aunts and uncles in tears, grandma's distraught, and my mom, I swear to God, she didn't eat for a month after that. My dad blamed himself. I became an alcoholic. Never really cared for hardcore drugs. That has never been me. But the alcohol, that was my demon. I've played thousands of games, dating back all the way to Super Mario Bros. On the NES. And of all the characters I've played, of all the characters I've created, none of them have ever represented me more than Clive. I feel his pain, I feel his anger, and I feel his determination.
Welcome to this deep dive into Final Fantasy XVI, an epic, action-packed journey that takes us through the dark and fascinating world of Valisthea. Today, we're unpacking everything this game has to offer: its story, gameplay, characters, visuals, and much more. So grab your potions, summon your icons, and let's dive right in. Valisthea is the heart of Final Fantasy XVI, a world divided by powerful nations built around mother crystals, which provide magic and resources. These mother crystals, however, come at a cost: the Blight, a mysterious force slowly consuming the land. This sets the stage for a tale of political intrigue, betrayal, and personal revenge. You play as Clive Rosfield, the firstborn of the Archduke of Rosaria. But unlike many Final Fantasy protagonists, Clive's journey is deeply personal, driven by loss and his connection to the mighty Eikons, beings of immense power summoned by dominance. The world-building here is rich, drawing clear inspiration from medieval Europe while adding a unique Final Fantasy flair. The story of Final Fantasy XVI is dark, complex, and mature. Themes of loss, revenge, and the cost of power are front and center. This isn't your lighthearted, crystal-saving adventure. It's a brutal narrative about the lengths people will go to survive in a crumbling world. Clive Rosfield is a standout protagonist. We see him evolve from a loyal brother and knight to a determined force of rebellion. His relationships with other characters, especially Jill Warwick and Sidolphus Telamon, or Sid, add depth to the narrative. And let's not forget Sid, a fan favorite who brings humor, heart, and a refreshing sense of realism to the story. He's easily one of the best iterations of Sid in the franchise.
This way. Bloody wind. Well, come on then.
When it comes to gameplay, Final Fantasy XVI takes a bold step in a new direction. Gone is the turn-based combat system or even the hybrid system of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Instead, this is full-on action RPG territory, with real-time combat heavily inspired by games like Devil May Cry. In fact, Ryota Suzuki, a veteran combat designer for Devil May Cry 5, led the charge here. The result? Combat that feels fluid, fast, and incredibly satisfying. Clive can channel the powers of icons like Ifrit, Garuda, and Shiva, switching between their abilities on the fly. It's a system that rewards skill, timing, and creativity.
Care to thin the herd? As if you have to ask.
Outside of combat, the game features exploration and side quests. While the main story is gripping, the side quests can feel like a mixed bag. Some add depth to the world, while others can feel like filler. Let's start with the story, the heart of any Final Fantasy game. Final Fantasy XVI takes place in Valisthea, a land blessed and cursed by mother crystals. These towering structures grant magical ether to the world, but their power comes at a cost. Our protagonist, Clive Rosfield, finds himself at the center of a tale filled with political machinations, revenge, and a struggle against fate itself. Unlike previous entries, the narrative is much darker and leans heavily into mature themes, reminiscent of shows like Game of Thrones. We see nations warring for control of the crystals and the dominance. Humans who can summon icons are the game's most powerful figures. At its core, Final Fantasy XVI is about Clive's journey from a young, loyal shield of his brother Joshua to a hardened warrior set on vengeance. Without diving into spoilers, I can say this story takes you on a roller coaster of emotions, blending personal drama with epic, world-changing events. It's intense, raw, and at times quite brutal. The writing feels fresh, and the voice acting is stellar, with standout performances from Ben Starr as Clive. The game explores heavy themes like loss, grief, and the consequences of wielding power, making for a gripping narrative. However, there are moments where the pacing falters, especially in the middle acts. Side quests, though they add depth, sometimes disrupt the momentum of the main storyline. Valisthea is a breathtaking world, and it's clear that the developers put a lot of love into crafting it. From the lush landscapes of Rosaria to the arid deserts of the Dalmatian Republic, each region feels distinct. The art direction is top tier, blending high fantasy with elements of medieval Europe. There's a sense of history and lore embedded in every corner of the map, and exploring these locations feels rewarding, especially with the environmental storytelling. You'll uncover remnants of ancient civilizations and see the devastating effects of the Blight, a spreading curse draining life from the land. That said, the open-world aspects are somewhat limited. While there are large, explorable areas, the game follows a more linear progression. It's not a fully open-world experience like Final Fantasy XV, but instead offers semi-open zones. This might be a letdown for some who expected a broader sandbox, but it does help keep the narrative focused. Now, let's talk characters, because this is where Final Fantasy XVI truly shines. Clive Rosfield is a fantastic protagonist with a layered personality and a backstory that keeps you invested. His relationship with his brother Joshua is the emotional core of the game, driving much of the plot forward. Then there's Jill Warwick, Clive's childhood friend, and an integral part of the journey. While her development is a bit uneven, her moments of vulnerability add depth to the story. One of my personal favorites is Sidolphus Telemon, or simply Sid. He's the rough-and-tumble rebel who steals the show with his charisma and wit. His dynamic with Clive brings a lighter, more humorous tone to an otherwise serious story.
Wait until it turned into a brawl, then slit the dominant's throat in the chaos.
I didn't know it was her. How could it be?
And And so, to save her neck, you slit your sergeants, then set your sights on the hills. Conveniently forgetting how the Empire deals with deserters. Because with that on your chop, my friend, we both know you won't be getting far.
Combat is where Final Fantasy XVI takes a sharp turn from its predecessors. This is a full-on action RPG, with a combat system reminiscent of Devil May Cry and Nier Automata. You control only Clive, but the variety of Eikon abilities at your disposal keeps the gameplay fresh. You can seamlessly switch between different Eikon powers in battle, chaining together devastating combos and finishing moves. The boss fights are a highlight, especially the Eikon battles. These larger-than-life clashes feel like a mix between a fighting game and an interactive cinematic. They're bombastic, visually spectacular, and often the peak of the game's action.
You're a talker.
Then let's shut him up.
However, this focus on action comes at the cost of traditional RPG elements. Character customization is minimal, and there's less emphasis on party management. It's a bold move, and while it makes combat thrilling, it might alienate fans who prefer the strategic depth of past titles. Visually, the game is a masterpiece. The level of detail in character models, environments, and particle effects is jaw-dropping. However, there are occasional frame rate dips, especially in the more crowded, action-heavy sequences. It's not enough to ruin the experience, but it's noticeable on a standard PS5. Masayoshi Soken delivers one of the best soundtracks in the series. The music enhances every moment, from the quiet, emotional pieces to the bombastic battle themes. It's a symphonic blend that captures the epic scale and emotional weight of the story. Once you beat the main story, there's plenty to keep you busy. You've got New Game Plus, harder difficulty modes, and additional hunts and side quests. While the endgame isn't as expansive as Final Fantasy XV or XII, it offers enough to keep you engaged for a few more hours. In the end, Final Fantasy XVI is a bold new direction for the series. It's a narrative-driven, action-heavy experience that may not satisfy everyone, especially those looking for deep RPG mechanics. But if you're open to change, you'll find a thrilling, emotional journey with some of the best storytelling and combat in the series. I'm giving Final Fantasy XVI 9 stars out of 10. It's a must-play for fans of action RPGs and a fascinating entry in the Final Fantasy saga. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on more content. Drop a comment below with your thoughts on Final Fantasy XVI. Did it meet your expectations, or did you miss the turn-based combat? I'd love to hear what you think. Until next time, keep gaming, and I'll see you in the next video.
Found you.